What happens when two of country music's biggest voices collide on live television, and the conversation turns so tense that security is forced to intervene? That's exactly what happened when Faith Hill appeared on the Kelly Clarkson Show. What began as a warm reunion between two powerhouse vocalists quickly descended into one of the most explosive and uncomfortable moments ever. Broadcast on daytime TV, before we get into how it all spiraled out of control, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Because trust me, you won't believe how this one ends. The cameras rolled. Kelly Clarkson sat behind her familiar desk, her signature smile lighting up the studio. The audience cheered as Faith Hill, graceful, poised, and radiating star power, walked onto the stage in a sleek black blazer. Faith Hill, everybody, Kelly announced with genuine excitement. Thank you so much for being here. I have to say, I've been a fan since I was first starting out. Faith smiled politely, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes. Cool, measured, guarded. Thank you for having me, Kelly, she replied smoothly. It's always nice to meet artists who've made their mark. Kelly laughed, brushing it off. Oh, I wouldn't say I've made quite the same mark you have. You've sold over 40 million albums, 5 Grammys, Vegas residencies. You're a legend. Faith tilted her head slightly. Success comes in many forms, she said, her voice calm but sharp. Some of us have been building our careers for decades, while others found quicker paths to the top. The air shifted. Kelly's smile wavered for the first time. The audience exchanged uneasy glances. Trying to recover, Kelly pivoted. Well, I think we've all had our own journeys. Speaking of yours, you're going back on tour, right? I heard you're revisiting some of your early hits? Faith nodded. That's right. Sometimes you have to remind people where real talent comes from. Not everyone can rely on a reality show to launch a career. The crowd gasped softly. This time, there was no mistaking the dig. Kelly's expression hardened. You know, American Idol gave a lot of talented people a chance to be heard, she said, still smiling, but her tone steady and firm. Not everyone gets discovered in a bar in Nashville. Some of us had to fight for that platform. Faith's eyebrow arched. Fight for it or audition for it? A few awkward chuckles rippled through the audience. Kelly's composure began to crack. I've written my own songs, she said, her voice rising slightly. Since you've been gone, because of you, stronger. Those came from real emotions, real pain. I may have started on a TV show, but everything after that, I earned. Faith crossed her legs slowly, unbothered. Of course, dear, she said coolly. We all like to believe our journeys are authentic. The studio fell silent. Kelly leaned back, folding her arms, her eyes fixed on Faith. What's that supposed to mean? Faith smiled faintly. Just that fame built fast often burns faster. Some of us learned that the hard way. At that, Kelly stood up slightly from her chair. Producers off-camera began signaling, sensing things were heading off-script. The tension was electric. Two queens of country pop clashing in real time. Pride and history colliding in front of millions. And then, just as Kelly opened her mouth to respond, Faith removed her microphone, stood up, and said evenly, I don't do shows that confuse attention with artistry. Gasps filled the studio. Security stepped in as Faith turned and walked off stage, leaving Kelly frozen behind her desk, stunned, humiliated, and utterly speechless. The moment went viral within hours. Fans were divided. Some praised Faith for defending old-school artistry. Others rallied behind Kelly, calling her the symbol of modern authenticity. One thing was clear. This wasn't just an interview. It was a collision of eras, a battle over what it truly means to earn your place in music. Faith leaned back in her chair, a faint knowing smirk curving her lips. Oh, I'm sure those songs meant a lot to you, she said smoothly. Though I do wonder, How much creative control did you really have working with those big pop producers? Must be nice having a whole team of writers and engineers designing your sound for you. Kelly blinked, caught off guard. Her voice rose just a notch. Excuse me, are you seriously questioning my artistic integrity on my own show? I'm not questioning anything, Faith replied, her tone calm but cutting. I'm just saying, some of us have been writing our own songs and making our own decisions since day one. We didn't need a panel of judges or a team of executives telling us who to be. Kelly's hands tightened on the edge of her desk, her knuckles whitening. The tension in the room thickened, her famous kindness flickering under the strain. You know what, Faith? She said, her voice low and steady. I've always respected you as an artist. But right now, I'm starting to question your character. You come on my show, in front of my audience, and try to tear down everything I've worked for? That's not just unprofessional. It's mean, Faith laughed. A cold, humorless sound that echoed across the silent studio. Mean? Oh, honey, if you think this is mean, you haven't been in this business long enough. This is reality. Some of us earned our spot at the top. Others just got lucky, with a sob story that played well on television. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kelly's face turned crimson, and for a moment, it looked like she might actually stand up. The cameras kept rolling. A sob story? Kelly repeated, her voice trembling. Not from fear, but fury. My childhood, my family's struggles, that was real. That was my life. And you're sitting here calling it a sob story? Faith shrugged, utterly unbothered. I'm calling it what it was. A convenient narrative that won you votes and sympathy. You think the rest of us didn't struggle? The difference is, we didn't broadcast it to the world just to win a contest. Kelly shot to her feet, her chair skidding backward. The audience froze. You could have heard a pin drop. You want to talk about putting struggles on display? She said sharply. At least I was honest about mine. I didn't pretend to be some perfect country princess while my marriage was crumbling behind the scenes. The words hit like a slap. Faith's expression cracked for the first time, shock flashing across her face before hardening into rage. How dare you? She whispered, her voice low and dangerous. How dare you bring my personal life into this? Oh, now personal lives are off limits? Kelly shot back. That's rich coming from someone who spent the last 10 minutes dragging mine through the mud. What's wrong, Faith? You can dish it out, but you can't take it. Faith rose slowly from her chair, her posture stiff, her eyes blazing. You have no idea what you're talking about, little girl, she hissed. You think because you've had a talk show for a few years, you get to psychoanalyze artists who were headlining arenas when you were still singing in church choirs? Kelly let out a sharp, bitter laugh. There it is again, condescension. You love calling me a little girl, don't you? Well, newsflash, Faith. I'm a grown woman with kids, a career, and a legacy I built myself. I'm not someone you can intimidate. Faith's smirk returned, colder than before. Could have fooled me, she said. You're standing here throwing a tantrum because someone finally told you the truth about your manufactured career. Kelly took a step closer, her voice barely above a whisper but laced with steel. My career was built on heart and honesty, Faith. You can call it manufactured if it helps you sleep at night, but at least mine wasn't built on pretending. The studio audience sat frozen, caught between shock and awe. Producers motioned frantically off camera, but neither woman moved. It was no longer an interview. It was war. Manufactured? Kelly repeated, stepping forward. The tension in the studio was electric, so thick the air itself seemed to vibrate. You want to talk about manufactured, Faith? Let's talk about how you've spent the last 15 years trying to convince everyone you're still relevant, while younger artists are out there doing what you used to do. Faith's eyes narrowed, her expression hardening. Let's talk, Kelly continued, voice rising with every word, about how desperate you must be for attention to come on my show and start this whole circus just to get your name trending again. Faith's face went pale, then flushed crimson. The microphone picked up the sharp inhale through her nose. "Desperate," she spat. "The only desperate one here is you, Kelly. Desperate to prove you belong in the same room as real artists. Desperate to be taken seriously by anyone who actually matters in this industry." Kelly's lips parted. But Faith didn't stop. She leaned forward, her voice low and venomous. "Tell me something. How does it feel knowing that no matter how many talk shows you host, no matter how many trophies you line up on your shelf, there will always be people who see you as nothing more than a reality show contestant who got lucky?" The words hit like a punch to the gut. The audience gasped audibly. One woman near the front even covered her mouth. Kelly's jaw clenched. Her eyes shimmered, not with sadness, but with rage barely held in check. "You know what?" she said finally, her voice trembling but powerful. "You can call me whatever you want, Faith. Idol winner, talk show host, lucky, fine. But at least I didn't have to tear other women down to stay in the headlines." Faith froze, her expression flickering for just a second. Anger, then guilt, then defiance. Kelly stepped closer, voice steady now, her emotion sharpening into steel. "I built my career on kindness, hard work, and honesty. And if that makes me less of a real artist in your eyes, then maybe you're the one who's forgotten what real actually looks like." The crowd erupted, some clapping, others gasping. Faith's nostrils flared. She looked around, realizing the audience had turned. Her lips parted as if to speak, but she didn't. Instead, she tore off her mic, threw it on the couch beside her, and stormed off stage as the camera struggled to follow. Kelly stood there, chest heaving, eyes wet but unbroken. The applause grew louder, half shock, half solidarity. It was no longer just a talk show. It was a reckoning. "I may have started on a reality show," Kelly said, her voice trembling with fury. "But at least I'm not a bitter, washed-up has-been who tears down other women just to feel relevant. At least I don't have to come on someone else's show and act like a complete monster just to get people talking about me again." Faith's face snapped toward her, eyes blazing. "Washed up?" she repeated, her voice rising to a near shout. "Sweetheart, I've sold more albums than you ever will. I've had more #1 hits, more Grammy nominations, and more respect from real musicians than you could ever dream of." Kelly folded her arms, leaning forward. "Had being the key word there, Faith. When was your last #1? When was the last time anyone under 30 even knew who you were, without having to Google you first? You're living in the past. And the fact that you're so threatened by anyone who got here differently than you, it's honestly sad." Faith's hands trembled slightly, her voice tightening. "You think success is about how many teenagers follow you on TikTok? Real artists don't need to pander to children to feel validated." Kelly's eyes flashed. "No," she shot back. "But apparently, they do need to come on other people's shows and act like nightmares to feel seen. Tell me, Faith, is this really who you are? Is this the woman Tim married? Because if it is, I'm starting to understand why there were so many rumors about problems in your marriage." The mention of Tim McGraw hit Faith like a slap. Her face went red, then white. For a second, it looked like she might actually lunge across the stage. "Don't you ever," Faith hissed, pointing a shaking finger directly at Kelly, "ever mention my husband again. You don't know a damn thing about my marriage, my family, or my life." "I know enough," Kelly said, her voice steady, her anger sharp as glass. "I know you're so miserable in your own life that you came here hoping to ruin mine. I know you're so insecure about your place in this industry that you can't stand watching anyone else succeed. And I know that right now, on national television, you're showing everyone exactly what kind of person you really are." Faith's laugh was harsh and bitter. "Oh, please. What kind of person am I, Kelly?" "The kind," Kelly said evenly, "who confuses cruelty with honesty." Faith stepped closer, crossing her arms with a mocking smile. "You want honesty? Fine. I'm the kind of person who earned everything I have. I didn't need America to vote for me to prove I had talent. I'm the kind of person who writes her own songs instead of having them handed to her by a label. And I'm definitely the kind of person who doesn't pretend to be sweet and innocent while stabbing people in the back. Kelly blinked, her disbelief visible. Stabbing people in the back? Are you serious? You came on my show, Faith, and started swinging the second you sat down. You've been condescending, rude, and downright nasty. And you're calling me fake? I've been honest, Faith replied coldly. Something you clearly wouldn't recognize if it hit you in the face. This whole sweet, relatable act you've built your brand on, it's fake. Everyone in Nashville knows it. Everyone in this industry knows it. The only people who don't are your fans. And that's exactly how you like it. The accusation hung in the air like poison. The audience sat frozen, the silence deafening. Kelly's face went through a storm of emotions, hurt, disbelief, anger, until something inside her hardened completely. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm, too calm. You know what, Faith? I've tried to be professional. I've tried to give you grace. I've tried to salvage this interview and treat you with the respect I thought you deserved. But it's clear now, you don't know how to respect anyone but yourself. Faith smirked, folding her arms tighter. Finally showing your true colors, are we? No, Kelly said, stepping out from behind her desk, her tone firm and final. I'm showing you what happens when someone pushes me too far. Congratulations, Faith. You've officially crossed that line. The words echoed through the studio. The room went eerily still. Faith's confident smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of doubt. She straightened in her chair. Crossed what line? She asked quietly, her voice losing some of its venom for the first time. Kelly began to walk slowly around her desk, each step deliberate, her eyes locked on Faith. The line, Kelly said, her voice low and steady. Where I stop pretending that what you're doing here is okay. The line where I smile and nod while you insult everything I've worked for. The line where I let you sit in my house, on my show, in front of my audience, and disrespect not just me, but everyone who's ever supported me. Faith's eyes flickered. Part defiance, part realization. Your house? She said, her voice trembling, equal parts anger and disbelief. Faith let out a shaky scoff, trying to steady her voice. This is a television studio, Kelly. Don't make it sound bigger than it is. Kelly stopped just a few feet from her, her voice calm but edged with steel. No, Faith, this isn't just a television studio. This is my show. These are my people, my crew, my audience, my family. And for the past 20 minutes, you've done nothing but try to tear down everything we've built together. You walked in here, accepted our kindness, and threw it right back in our faces. For the first time, Faith's confidence faltered. Her eyes darted around the studio, and she finally seemed to notice the stares. The audience, once captivated, now looked furious. Crew members who had been silent professionals were glaring openly. Even the camera operators, trained to remain impartial, were shaking their heads in disbelief. I don't need their approval, Faith said, but her tone had lost its bite. No, Kelly said softly, stepping closer. You don't, but you do need something. You need help. Because the woman standing in front of me right now, the woman who came here just to tear someone else down, that's not the Faith Hill people adored. That's not the icon who inspired so many. That's someone who's lost herself so completely she doesn't even see how cruel she's become. Faith's face reddened, her composure crumbling as anger surged back to the surface. Don't you dare psychoanalyze me, Kelly.